Welcome to Pop Culture Problems, ladies and gentlemen, where we talk about modern monsters. I'm Josh Nichols, and I'm here with my co-host John Oderman, and, we've talked about the classic monsters in the past, but we're going to continue the conversation and talk about more modern monsters. And the question I asked you, John, the last time we were talking about monsters is, are the new horror movie character stars Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Chucky, do you consider those monsters? Because they're not the classic Frankenstein, Dracula, things like that. And you said yes. Explain yourself, clown.
Wow. Well, I'd lump Pennywise in with this group. And the thing is Pennywise was only in one movie, but I think they have they've reached a level of awareness with the general public that is in a lot of ways even more so, if not at the same level as those classic ones. Because when people think about movie monsters, they might think about those classic ones, but I think the younger viewers, like people like our age, we don't necessarily think of the Bela Lugosi Dracula, the Lon Chaney Wolfman. We think about Chucky, a doll that comes to life and tries to kill you. We think about Jason. We think about Freddy Krueger. We think about those ones that came out in the 80s and 90s that really kind of formed the more frightening trips to the theater or sitting in your house and watching them on whatever cable network they were on at that given point.
I don't disagree with you, but it's almost like point of clarification where I'm still not convinced that I would call these villains, these antagonists, monsters. Because I'm gonna go to, because I've collected action figures when I was kid, teenager, and I love Todd McFarlane stuff. And he had a couple series. He had movie Maniacs, and he also had the Monster series. And in the Monster series, he had Creature from the Black Lagoon and Frankenstein and Dracula and all those. And in the movie Maniac series, he had Freddy and Leatherface and all of these other characters. And I almost like that distinction. And I know that they were just Toy Series branding, but I really like that distinction because I can't put in my mind Frankenstein next to Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface. I can't put, the Nosferatu or, something like that. Or I can't put Dracula next to Freddy Krueger.
Well, I actually think Freddy's the easiest one to plug into that group because there's a supernatural paranormal element to Freddy, whereas with Leatherface there really isn't a supernatural paranormal element to him. He's just he's a maniac.
But also except for Frankenstein, which we've talked about before. Which is kind of that series of characters, he was kind of the only one that you could, well, maybe not the only one, but, the main one that you could say, he's the only one. Freddy Krueger is the only Freddy Krueger.
True.
Leatherface is the only Leatherface. Chucky's the only Chucky. There aren't, all of these characters are very singular. They're singularity. They're the only one of that type.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of other movies about killer dolls. You see Chucky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's in all the movies in the series. And so I almost think that, monsters for me encompass a type of creature. So vampires, in my opinion, are a monster. Dracula is a vampire. Vampires are monsters.
So is there a kind of an element there to you where you get scratched by a werewolf, you become a werewolf. If you get bitten by a vampire, you become a vampire.
Well, I don't know that dictates it as much, but it's just that there's not just a single instance of there's more people to it.
So would you define the aliens from Alien as a monster?
I
think that's I think that would be a fair distinction.
I think that you could say aliens, and again, aliens are kind of in their own category because aliens are aliens.
Yeah.
But you could say that aliens are monsters. It's like a sci-fi monster because there's more aliens. You look at
again, everything from Signs to Mars Attacks to Aliens to all of those it's its own monster. I would even put Predator, I would say that's more of a monster because there's more than one Predator. There's not just Predator with a capital P. That's not his name. Hi, my name is John C. Predator. It's like that. It's not his name. How do you know? I don't know.
They've never gone into that lore.
But it's not a singular instance of that person. There are more than that. There's one Freddy Krueger. There's one Chucky. And I think it's even hard. I could say, okay, killer clowns are a genre of monster. But I think it's a stretch because you have Pennywise, but you have like American Horror Story. One of the seasons they did a monster.
I think it's the upcoming season. Yeah, the upcoming season of American Horror Story Cult deals with clowns.
Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't know that.
At least that's in a lot of the teasers.
They had a previous season with a clown, and he was one of the creepiest looking clowns I've ever seen. Killer clowns from outer space, a campy aliens coming from space sci-fi. But I don't put killer clowns in a monster.
No.
Really, but even though they fit that.
But I guess where I fall is, I think in like 50 years, those 80s movies like with Chucky, maybe not Chucky, but like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. I think those movies are going to be considered, classic films.
But I think
that are redefined as like that. This will be like the 50 years. You've got the golden age where you've got like the Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney, Universal monsters. But then 30, 40 years later, you have this silver age of movie monsters with Freddy Krueger, Jason, the aliens, Chucky. I think Chucky is just kind of, you have to put him on kind of a shelf by himself because he's just
in
like
the box.
He's like so out there.
Mint in box Chucky on the shelf.
Yeah.
Well, again, I guess I'm going to predict that in the future people look back and they don't call those monster movies, they call them horror movies. I wouldn't call the old Dracula, the old Frankenstein, the old Wolfman movies horror movies.
Yeah.
I would call them monster movies. Mm-hmm. And I think I will look back on Freddy and Jason and all those and call them horror movies or slasher flicks or flicks. I wouldn't but, and I don't know. It's just it's not an important distinction, but it's just one of those things that I think that is interesting how we combine this together. And I think that the Universal monsters and that monster series and the monsters in the vein of vampires versus werewolves versus those things that are groups of creatures, I feel like that's something that we're gonna equate monsters.
How do you think those guys feel about it? Do you think they sit around at the old monsters home and like talk about how much harder they had it than these young bucks?
Oh, such a hard time as a monster, the garlic and the silver bullets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I evolved. They're always talking.
Yeah, everybody knew how to kill those guys.
Oh yeah, everybody knew.
Nobody knew. You didn't know how to kill Freddy.
Still
you didn't
can't
know how to
kill Jason.
Yeah,
you don't know how to kill him.
Yeah,
it's like what? But you're like, oh yeah, we didn't get to look at the goils inside the bras and panties before we killed them. No, we didn't get to do that. I ripped my jeans when I turned into the werewolf. I don't know why this is the voice of every classic movie monster. I feel like I'm Mel Brooks or something.
Well, I had my voice thing. Yeah, that's not even the voice I was doing in the last monster.
I love Mel Brooks, the million-year-old man.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh man, that's. I went on a road trip a couple years ago, and I bought that CD set and I listened to all of them on the van. Man, it's just hilarious. He's such a good guy. And he had a young Frankenstein, so again...
He really is a great guy.
He is good.
We should have him on the show again.
Yeah, he always wants to come back, and I'm like, Mel, no, you can't come back. My sugar now, get out of here. I don't know what any of these words mean. I've just heard them.
Yes.
And
from Mel Brooks, when he was on the show. Everybody needs to listen to every one of our shows to make sure that...
One thing about Mel
I can't remember
Brooks,
which one he was on, but...
Love him or hate him, the guy can get away with stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the best example I can give is that he is never, ever, ever without a black comb so that he can make it into a Nazi Hitler mustache. He'll just whip that out on Conan O'Brien. And I'm like, well, stop it. What are you doing? And like everybody's like, oh, Mel, you crazy old coon. Anybody else would do that and they would never get away with it. But he always has a black comb with him. He just
Mel
has
Brooks
to.
being Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks being Mel Brooks. So, Mel Brooks, famous movie monster? No. We tried to segue it. So other monsters in that class movie. So you have even more modern, because 70s, 80s saw some of those monsters, re-envisioned. But what about Scream?
Oh,
like
yeah,
Ghostface.
yeah, Ghostface, absolutely.
Because now we're getting into a very weird category, because that's a serial killer.
Yeah.
So would you put Dexter Morgan from Dexter?
Yeah, that's a really interesting angle on it, because in the early films you had those monsters that were specifically like monsters, supernatural, paranormal beings.
Yeah.
And then you kind of you saw a slow shift where, I mean, I think Jason and Freddy still kind of fall into that grouping, that category, but then you get into like the leather faces and the ghost faces where there's not a supernatural or paranormal element to them. They're just bad people. Well,
but this is where I go back to the wise man, the great Todd McFarlane. Why not just call them maniacs instead of monsters? Because they fit in that category. And let's pretend for a second we're going to use maniacs to cover Ghostface, Leatherface, Freddy, everybody. Would you categorize Frankenstein as a movie maniac, or would he still be a monster?
I'm thinking,
I would leave him in the monster category.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I think that this monster versus maniac distinction I think it's viable.
Yeah. I think it's viable. Speaking of Scream, first time I saw that movie, I had to sleep in my parents' room.
Really?
I don't know why, but that movie was terrifying.
I didn't find it to be that terrifying. I found it to be good.
Granted, I was like probably like I was like 11 or 12 when I saw it, but yeah, scary. And you had young Nev Campbell. Jeez, was she hot?
I can't remember the new Scream movie that came out, but I recall not hating it, but the 3 Scream movies I thought were solid.
Yeah, I thought they were good movies.
Or there was 4, and then there was a new Scream that was a total re-envision, I think, wasn't it?
I think it was a TV show.
Oh, maybe that's true.
A Scream TV show. I think they did Scream 4, and it wasn't with like the original characters.
No,
maybe
Scream
with a couple.
4, I believe Nev Campbell was back for it.
Okay,
I believe that she was.
Maybe I never saw that one.
Yeah, maybe you did. We'll put it on the list to watch.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that was a great. Wes Craven is an interesting cat, because I mean he was the Nightmare on Elm Street, and then also the Scream series. But he had a lot of campy, terrible.
But the thing about Scream is like they killed their biggest actress in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Drew Barrymore was like the biggest name in that movie.
She might have been the huskiest, yeah. No, I do not like Drew Barrymore.
But I mean, like at that point, she was like the biggest actress or actor in that movie. They kill her in the first 5-10 minutes.
Well, it's just the token actor. The token.
But it was a great. That was a great move, because it was like, okay, geez, they're not messing around here.
I'm going to give a little throwback to the last Monsters episode. The only thing that could make me like Drew
Barrymore.
There's one thing that could make me like her less. If she had been in Being John Malkovich. That's it. That's the only thing that she could do to do a transgression to make me hate her more. I just don't like her as an actress.
Being John Malkovich is like your monster of monster. It's like your monster when it comes to movies.
Yeah, it could be. It's my maniac. Okay. I like that distinction. I'm gonna go to the grave with it. So okay, we've been through the classics. We did a whole episode of that. Now we're talking about the more modern ones with Freddy and that, and then we're going even more modern and saying Scream. New Texas Chainsaw Massacres, new versions of Chucky, that and things like that. What are the newest monsters or the newest maniacs? Because we get into these horror movies now, like Paranormal Activity
doesn't necessarily have a strict antagonist. The only thing I can maybe think of is like Annabella. Is that what The Conjuring?
Yeah. Well,
that
I think
might
with
be...
Split, you have kind of a monster in that one.
Kind of.
Yeah. Not really.
That's a weird movie because it crosses multiple genres and it's kind of a hodgepodge. Do we have modern?
That's a good
monsters?
question. I mean, Paranormal Activity. It's more of like a like an entity that you don't see.
Yeah,
doesn't have physical form.
I think
we haven't had one recently.
But see, this is in a way where I kind of go back to like Godzilla, King Kong. Like, are those monsters? I mean, those kind of more.
Well,
fit
by the definition, I mean, I think by the strictest definition, they are.
And like, even if you go as far as to say Jurassic Park, were those monsters?
I'm going to get like a little technical here. I think Godzilla and King Kong would technically be like kaiju.
Wow,
from the Japanese.
Aren't you so smart?
No, I mean it's a different like subsection of like monsters.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What about I'm gonna throw some randomness here. Monster or not, Jaws.
Oh.
See,
that's an animal.
I would put it under Maniac. Jaws
what?
was a
Come on,
thirsty monster.
You can't. No.
He's a movie maniac.
I don't agree.
He's a movie maniac.
You can't put Jaws in a maniac category because he can't reason.
No, what? Jaws could reason.
No.
He made calculated decisions. Here's the proof that I have that he was a maniac. Because Todd McFarlane made a movie Maniac feature on him. So that's that. There you go. It proves it.
Why are you asking me? You should just be asking Todd McFarlane.
I don't need to ask him because he already answered my question.
Oh.
Okay, so I don't know that... I just can't picture any current movie monsters. When I look at, like, Godzilla, I even go to, like, Cloverfield, because there was a monster of sorts in there. Maybe it's...
the genre, like, kaiju movies has really made, like, a comeback. Big time.
I wonder... I'm a big proponent of everything being a remix and us redoing a lot of things over and over and over. And
we re-record the shows it's multiple times before we put them online.
And that's the best we could come up with was the final version?
Yes.
Don't tell people that. People are going to be like, this is it? How many? 20 takes? And you gave me this crappy episode?
It literally takes us a full week to get one episode out.
I like, though, how, we've got... I just think that we've reinvented characters. We've tried to reinvent them. There's been a new Nightmare on Elm Street series, and it kind of failed. And there's been, they're doing a new It movie with Pennywise, and it's to be determined whether or not it's going to fail or not. And I just wonder, have we run out of... You're telling me there's not a new monster and or maniac that we could, is there not a new idea?
See, but I still don't think that like Freddy is in that maniac category. I think he's in the monster category.
Okay, well then
because there's that paranormal supernatural element to it. Like Hannibal, what's Jigsaw from Saw?
But that's serial killer category.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, those guys, but. Geez, when it comes to monsters,
okay. So the reasonable suspension of disbelief. I'm gonna agree to disagree, but let's for a second pretend that Freddy. I'm totally on board. Freddy is gonna go ahead and move into the monster category. Jason, Michael Myers, they're all in the monster category.
I don't know. I don't know if that's fair. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm arguing. Because I think there's a supernatural, paranormal element. There's an argument to be made for it to be a monster.
No, but I'm saying just for sake of argument,
all right.
Let's say that they're monsters.
Okay.
Tell me, with your definition of monsters, then, what is the last unique and newest monster that you could identify? I feel like I can't, in my mind, come up with a recent monster.
Outside of those guys, no, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't think. Yeah, I can't
Freddy
think of one.
Is that literally is the 80s? The last time we came up with a unique monster in Hollywood, isn't that sad. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
that's, like
it's
I
a little
can't
sad,
even
yeah.
come up with anything. I just feel like, and I feel like maybe we've kind of, and I know it's not necessarily a monster, but like Jaws, I saw being in that same suspense. Jaws was a force to be reckoned with. People left the theater scared. People had heart attack at the movie theater, and like I think I put that.
Like I see Jaws more as like a survivalist horror.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily like a monster or a maniac. I think Jaws is like a you're caught in the ocean with like something that can eat you.
But okay, so thinking of Jaws, here's a reason why I put him in more of a monster.
Well, was Jaws a he? Do we know that?
I don't know. I just assume so. Everybody calls him a he. I
All
didn't check. Okay. You know, I didn't lift up his tail. But here's the thing. Have you seen the movie The Shallows?
Yeah, with Blake Lively.
Okay,
yeah.
so The Shallows was okay.
Actually, I thought it was decent.
I thought
for what it was, I mean, I thought Blake Lively did a really good job for just being on a rock the whole movie.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I think it was anything spectacular. But if you compare the shark in that movie and Jaws was a monster to me.
Oh, yeah.
He was a being. He was a character. Where the shark in The Shallows was
just a shark.
Yeah, it was a shark.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where when you have just this kind of ambiance and presence, when people say Jaws, it conjures up the theme. It conjures up images of him biting the boat. Like it has this whole kind of culture and following around it. Where the shark in that movie, it was a shark. You know, it didn't have that. And so I wonder if it's not even a sense of, like, not historic prevalence, but, like, that iconicness of the being. If that makes them in that monster category.
Yeah, if they have to, like, break through.
Yeah, if that, like, puts them in that level. I don't know. I feel like, and I don't know.
See, that's what I mean. That's what I mean when I say, like, 50 years from now. And when we look back when we're old and gray in the nursing home.
Yeah.
What are we going to say about it? Or what are we going to hope that like our kids say about them?
Well, I mean, you'll be in the nursing home because I will have turned your daughter against you, and she'll be taking care. You know, she'll
be taking care of you, not me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I will. Oh, I'm keeping a scrapbook of all the bad things that you do. I'm going to give it to her 18th birthday. She won't put me in a home. I'm Uncle Josh. I'm dear Uncle Josh that's never done anything wrong and told her about the transgressions of her father. Anyway, John, I'm just kidding.
You're a monster.
I am a monster. I'm a maniac, or one of the above. I'll ask Todd McFarlane. Well, and so I'm gonna go.
We should get him and Mel Brooks on the same show.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
They've been guests separately,
but
we need to get them on the same show.
Met. And
we can make that happen.
Todd McFarlane can make a Young Frankenstein series, or maybe a producer series. I mean, that would be
absolutely
yes. Springtime for Todd McFarlane. I'm gonna go back, and this isn't. I'm thinking it's not monster specifically, but I'm kind of gonna put it in the monster category. And it's not classic, but it's not new. The Ray Harryhausen Clash of the Titans and those claymation things.
Okay.
I kind of almost put like Medusa, you know,
Medusa
in the movie. I would consider that a monster. It was a mythological creature, but it was a mythological monster, in my opinion. Was it?
Well, yes, but like, see, I think you have to like, I think you have to bring these characters out of because like that was just like the retelling of a Greek myth. I think if you took Medusa out of the Greek myth and brought her into like a modern setting, no matter what, like notwithstanding when it was released, but like let's say you made like a Medusa monster movie back in like the 70s where like Medusa was like the antagonist of the movie.
Yeah.
Then I think you could define her as a monster, but like Clash of the Titans,
have her own
Clash of the Titans. I think it's just like that's part of like that quest storyline where you know I don't see it as a
Gosh, Medusa would be a good movie.
Yeah, it would be.
I think that,
yeah.
Well, and here's the thing: we just talked about there not being like original monsters or monster movies. Like that is a monster that has never really had a full story.
Why don't we mine like mythology.
Yeah, there's so many.
That's something that True Blood did that I thought was pretty cool. Like they would bring like these random, like seemingly random things out of like mythology or like fantasy and things like that, and tie it into the real world. And that was something cool about True Blood. That maybe not cool, but it was definitely an interesting twist on like fairies and they had the what was it called in the second season? But it was basically like a Greek demigod, and like being able to do that and put a new twist on them, I think is cool.
Yeah, I mean, I also think a unique thing that they could do, and again, as much as I like origin stories, and I don't know in the lore of vampires, is Nosferatu or Dracula or one of them supposedly the first vampire?
No, I think it was actually Lilith, which was like God's first try at man in the Garden of Eden, and he didn't like it, so he like cast them out. And so then the first man either mated or was fed upon by Lilith.
See,
and she's actually like mentioned in the Bible or used to be before it was taken out.
Yeah.
So
I think a unique story would be the first vampire, the first werewolf. Like I think those would be kind of some interesting origin stories of like. Because usually in the movie, it's like, oh, well, I was bitten 500 years ago. By who? Who were they bitten by? Who are they, or who was the first, how did that happen? Where was and what is that origin story? That could be, an interesting twist on that classic tale.
Yeah.
I still,
I think I'd be more interested in the werewolf one than the vampire one, I think, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Because you don't like good stories?
Yes, exactly.
John, that's why you like John Malkovich.
John Malkovich is a talented actor. I don't know why you hate him so much.
I I don't hate him. I just hate the movie being John Malkovich.
Okay, all right.
It's like, I wouldn't. I like you as a person, but if you walked into my office and defecated on my desk, I would not like the action. Okay, I wouldn't dislike you as a person for the rest of your life, but I might be like, John, I really don't like it when you poop on my desk.
Why'd you do that?
I really don't care for that about you. You know what I mean? And so I didn't like that movie. But to me, he is a monster in that movie. He's vile. The whole movie is vile. So yeah, I think that I think that a good route to take would be some more origin stories, but then also, like you said, mining those old stories and old mythology, and we're not talking about Greek mythology even, but there's mythology in all sorts of cultures. Actually, here's maybe a new monster. What about like the Slender Man or some of those types of things where it's loosely based on inspired events?
But Slender Man is something like I don't want to mess with.
Oh yeah,
because like there's just like some really creepy stuff about that, like kids killing other kids because of Slender Man told them to on the internet and things like that.
That's not good, but I mean that. It's almost like a modern day mythology. It's modern day folklore. It's modern day this and that, and I think that kind of, I don't know, feeds into to this culture of maybe that could be considered a modern day monster.
Remember the Candyman movies?
I was going to mention that Candyman. You say it 3 times and he appears. Those were scary in their own right, and you had kind of I mean that's right in the line. Yeah. Todd McFarlane deems him a maniac, or is he a monster? See, I'm so shocked at us because usually together you and I are able to come up with an answer. Like, we're usually able to take the facts, and we're able to not necessarily solve all the world's problems, but we're able to make a determination.
Josh, I still lean towards my paranormal, supernatural delineation line.
Well, and again, that's what I'm saying. We're like at an impasse where we're not really. I'm not 100% on board with you. You're not 100% on board with me, and we're not even 80% together of like, because we keep throwing in these curveballs that are like, oh, that throws it upside down. Yeah. I really think that this is something we should do. We should come up with the definitive answer. You wanted to have a conference on the rules of, vampires. I think we need to come up with a conference on the rules of
monsters or maniacs.
What does it mean to define a monster? Or are there subgenres? I mean, what do you like in Animalia? Kind of like when you're talking about mammals, and then you have subsets.
Well,
of
I think like
species
Jaws would like fall into this. It'd be closer to the category of King Kong and Godzilla than he would be like with Dracula, the Wolfman, and things like that.
Oh, this is actually good.
Yeah.
Let's come up with the answer to this, so that we can tell a discerning public the true answer that they need to follow as gospel, or else they can't listen to our show anymore. We won't allow them.
Yeah,
internet filters.
And the thing is whatever we decide,
it's true.
People have to live by that.
Yeah, people have to. And again, if they don't, we will block you from watching our show because we can read your thoughts, and we will block it with a pop-up blocker or something. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for sticking with us. We'll figure something out. Thanks for not turning off the show. We'll see you next time on Pop Culture Problem.
Please listen.